Oh, why have you got chips in the shed, Jake?
Well, one, I'm hungry, but also you can extract starch from these and turn them into polymers.
What are polymers?
Polymers simply just make up plastic.
Oh, wow. So, plastics. Is this clip all about plastics?
Yes. And
From potatoes?
yeah.
I'm confused.
Well, we can extract the starch from a potato and flour and turn it into biodegradable plastic.
Wow, so we're going to make plastics from a potato?
Yeah.
But I want chips.
Well, you can have them if you want.
Oh, can I have yours as well?
Yeah.
But I want polymers. I don't know what I want. Chips, polymers, potatoes. Amazingly, guys, that is a plastic. Today, we're going to do some little notes and clips on plastics. A couple of subscribers, in fact quite a lot of you, have asked me about the injection moulding clip we did, and we made, as Jake will just show you, a little car, and it's made out of a type of plastic, and we thought we'd answer a lot of your questions in one go, but at the same time I thought, why not do a clip on plastics, because it's a really topical subject at the moment, with perhaps where the plastics end up in our planet. So we'll come back to you later, and we're going to talk about the categories. Hi Shed Hackers. A couple of you have asked me to explain a little bit about the plastics we've used in our injection moulding clip, and I thought we'd do a few clips today about plastics, because I've had quite a few pieces of contact through the viewers on what plastics we intend to use in other products. So I suppose it would be nice if I could explain to you, for beginners, what plastics there are, what products they may be used in, and the reasons certain plastics are used for certain products. You may not know that all plastics are made up of monomers, and many of these very, very small particles are joined together, known as polymerization, to make a polymer, which is multiples or lots of monomers linked together. And they can be linked together with this sort of arrangement, and under an electron microscope, that's very, very small, 10 to the minus 9, and even smaller sometimes, you can actually see how the actual particles are arranged. And they are arranged differently for thermosetting plastics, and differently again for thermoplastics. And you can see the chains are linked in quite a different way to the chains on thermosetting. In thermosetting, and you can see in that arrangement, once the actual material has been formed into the shape, whatever it may be, like in a melamine or an epoxy resin, it's formed in that forever, and it can't be recycled or taken apart, if you like, even microscopically, very easily. So thermosetting plastics aren't good for modern uses because they're not recyclable, but thermoplastics are better. But the sad thing about most plastics we use, it comes from oil or oil-based products, and oil comes from the ground, and obviously any oil that we take from the ground can't be reformed because it takes millions of years for it to be formed under the ground, and it's usually from rotten leaves and vegetation and even animals from millions of years ago. Once it's been used up, guys, it's gone forever, and that is a considerable problem for the planet. Also, when you burn oil, you produce CO2 and dangerous toxins into the atmosphere, and of course we all know that adds an extra difficulty for the planet to cope with, and at present is causing enormous problems with global warming. Anyway, a bit less on that, let's look at the products that are made from plastics. Hi guys, continuing on from the last clip, before I go on to actually looking at the physical products that are made from plastics, there are two other categories of plastics. There's elastomers, which are natural rubbers, and neoprenes, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail later. And there are these, and here are, Jake, they are biodegradable polymers, okay, and these are products or polymers or oil-based plastics which can degrade over time and fall apart, so they can actually be, in a sense, not dangerous for the planet. So we'll look at those because I think it's really quite important that we know that, and there are different types of biodegradable polymers, okay, some are natural and some are not, but we can look at those, and anything man-made to some degree has a consequence to its use and later use in terms of when it's thrown away or recycled. Anyway, we'll go on to the next clip in a minute, and that's going to be about looking at the plastics in products. Hi Shed Hackers, back to polymers. This clip's really about the products made from plastics, and Jake's going to tap me when he's not quite sure about some of the things I'm saying. But Jake actually knows quite a lot about plastics, so perhaps he can talk to me as well about some of the things he knows. Okay, so coming back, okay, we have all these codes, various codes on each one, and I think, Jake, did you want to talk about those codes, or shall I explain them?
Yes, I was wondering, what does it mean by like code 1 and code 2?
Well, code 2, or in fact all the codes up to code 7, relate to how recyclable the product is. And the code matters, because if you mix certain codes together, you make then the recyclability very difficult in the end. Okay, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so code 1 is polythene. Okay, sometimes known as PET. Okay, and plumber's piping is used in that. It's very durable, resistant to chemicals. It's hard wearing, tough, and resilient, and it's a pretty tough material, and so it's known for that, for harder products. So the top of the toothpaste is made from high density polyethylene. That's code 2, high density polyethylene. That's spelling. And then you can see, moving on a little bit, code 3 is PVC, polyvinyl chloride. All these long words. Okay, and that is squidgy. That. So it's made for a different reason, and that is quite a soft material. Still very hard wearing and resilient. And this styrene here, this polyvinyl chloride, is being used on this sort of vacuum formed product for bulb. And then we have code 4, low density polyethylene, as it says there. And we found that out, it actually says it on the bag. There you can see, code 4. And plastic bags are all code 4. They're relatively low in their density, as it suggests in the title. They're very flexible, they can be made transparent, and they're quite stretchy. Actually, you can stretch them without breaking. So the polymers allow that arrangement inside. Clever stuff. So that's low density. Other forms of it, in a more solid form, I suppose, is this polythene. And there you see it's low density again. Yeah. Okay, you're jogging me. Yeah.
So is there a medium density?
Well, it's not like MDF, you're right. So you've got high density, low density. There will be a medium density, and do you know what, Jake? It's a really good question. I'll see if I can answer that as we go through, but I don't know of one at the moment. But good, very good question. Well done. Code 5 is PP, that's polypropylene. This is used for this sort of harder food packaging, and they use that because it doesn't tend to sort of leak out the polymers into the food products, and so that's much safer for food. To some degree, low density, but there are concerns over low density polyethylene and how it can actually bleed out, if you like, the polymers into the actual fluids or foods. So softer containers aren't considered to be very good for food packaging, and there's some scientific concerns around that. Okay, so moving on a little bit, we've got acrylic, polymethyl acrylic. I can't pronounce that. Can you pronounce that?
It looks like polymethyl
acrylic.
Something like that.
Acrylate. There we go. There's a bit of literacy there we're struggling with. It's acrylic, and the trade name for acrylic is Perspex, and that's the company that makes an awful lot in England. And the lens, and even for the LEDs, could easily be one of these types of acrylic. The rear lenses on cars are often acrylic. You know, they're red, aren't they, and the light shines through. Look at these spoons. That's code 6, and that's polystyrene. So, although it's transparent, that's the word, it's slightly different use. Yes, Jake, you got a question?
I thought polystyrene was that stuff that makes a mess and is used in packaging.
Brilliant question. Well, that's low density, expanded polystyrene, and it's even in the helmet here.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining, something like that.
But high density, there's a high density cover, about 3 millimeters thick there, and that high density polythene. So it goes back to your question. We've got a sort of a a range, haven't we? High density, high impact polystyrene, HIPS. So there are a real range of categories of plastics as we're finding out. Nylon, very strong nylon, really resistant to wear and stretching, and in small strands like this piece of rope here. See those little strands there? It's really resilient, and it can be very resilient in bad weather and ultraviolet from the sun. Very strong material, nylon. Very good. So low friction characteristics there is a property that we could look up. Perhaps low friction, so it doesn't wear easily. Code 7. This is the complicated one. So code 7 is the category is others. It says, a bit weird. Usually a combination of polymers. And here's an insulin pen. This is a combination of plastics, very cleverly made up. Very cleverly made up. And a lot of medical pens and instruments are made up from very high quality plastics, even combined with, in some cases, with some glasses. So moving on a bit, there's one there. That's urea formaldehyde, and it's a byproduct of. It sounds like animal waste, isn't it? Urea, and I think it actually is. And the formaldehyde's another chemical they mix with a polymer to form this very resilient, hard-wearing, tough plastic. The trouble is with urea formaldehyde, although it's tough and very almost scratch-proof to a degree, if you hammer it, it'll crack, so it's quite brittle. That's a sort of a bit of a negative property of it. Melamine, formaldehyde, there's that word again, formaldehyde. I don't think formaldehyde's very good for the environment, but that's a thin layer on that piece of MDF. But that is tough as nails. Jake, do you have a question?
Yeah, what's this used for?
Well, that's part of a work surface in the kitchen, and that's the bit that sits up, and then you have another large piece that comes here. But you can almost use a knife on that, so tough, really tough.
Wow.
Polyester resins. Well, resin, here's two-part resin, often known as epoxy resin. They are mixed together. One actually hardens the other, so one's a hardener and one's actually the polymer, and so one's a catalyst to the other hardening. That's the term. And resins are used to make glass fibres, often reinforced with glass, as I say, called GRP. Can you think of a product made from GRP?
Ooh, that's a tough
Something
one.
that floats? Large things?
Oh, would it be a boat?
Yeah, it could be a boat or a yacht. Not a ship, because that'll be steel. But certainly, yeah, large yachts. And even lorries, lorry cabs.
Oh, really?
And this is part of the thermosetting plastics. Sorry, so this is thermo. We didn't mention that these other ones, acrylic, polystyrene, polypropylene, polychloride, polythene, and another polythene. These are thermoplastics. These can be remelted, recycled, and therefore reused. So these are, in a sense, better for the environment. If they're recycled, because they can be recycled more than once, of course. Okay, but the not so good ones for the environment are these ones, because the ones that have been formed and made into what they are, it's very hard to recycle them again, almost impossible. Look at that brush. Wonder where that's from. China, I bet. Anyway, that's another brittle resin-formed plastic, thermoset. You can almost see the cracks appearing already in it. Look. So this stuff, yeah. Looks like a massive toothbrush. One for the dog, perhaps.
Wait, what's that?
Oh, now this is interesting. This is a very interesting polymer. It's a rubberized polymer, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But that's a smart polymer. Look, I can make it into a putty. Yeah.
Wow.
Weird stuff, isn't it? Like a smart plastic, that is. Woo! Okay, polyethylene, isn't it, for our vacuum, for our injection moulded car. Now these ones are actually elastomers. Sorry, going back to this one, phenol formaldehyde used years ago as Bakelite, but that's still a thermosetting plastic. Mustn't get confused. The next category is this one, elastomers. Yes, elastomers. Now, what's that, Jake?
It's a bicycle inner tube.
And can you pronounce that word?
Is it butadiene?
Butadiene? Butadiene, yeah, butadiene.
It's a bit of a tongue twister.
So that is an inner tube for a bicycle, your mountain bike actually. Well, you know, Jake, you're only 12, so you're doing pretty well actually, learning a lot. What can you tell me about this tyre here? Is it one plastic or two or three or five?
Is that two plastics? Because this looks like it'd be kind of soft and squidgy, even though it's quite hard, and that's a different colour.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a type of elastomer, probably a butadiene, and I bet that's a, let's go back to here, I bet you that's a high density polythene, bet you. So it's a mixture. So this could be actually a code 7, couldn't it, if it was described. So coming back to the elastomers, Christmas decorations, look, all squidgy. Squidgy little snowman. Poor bloke, just crushed him. And then you've got these silicons. Now silicons, really impressive. Look at that, baking tray. Put that in the oven, and you can just pop out your little loaf of bread or your cake. And Mum's been using that a lot lately, hasn't she? Mum likes her cooking.
Yeah.
Very clever woman, actually. And then we've got these rubber gloves. Yeah, like on the advert. Pulleys and things. It's all elastomers. Jake, you've got a question.
Have you got hungry or something? Because you've got flour and a potato.
Wow, this is your tea, Jake.
Oh, really?
Yes, just a potato. No, I put this here because these are this last type of polymer. And that's that one there, Jake. Can you get that one? Yeah, get scanning on that there.
Oh, there.
You can't find it. Look, that's biodegradable. Okay, the non-natural ones are polylactides, but you can get starch-based ones, starch-based polymers from the starch from your tea.
Wow.
Your chips. Well, it could turn into chips, couldn't it? Should we do that? And you can have it from corn starch or plain flour or flour starch. Anything that's got starch in it. How amazing is that? But that's a different category. They're not elastomers, they are biodegradable. So let's just focus on that word again. There, Jake. So these are biodegradable, the old cornstarch ones. There's your tea, Jake.
Wow.
Potato man. So I think we've covered it. Neoprene, what's that used for? Wetsuits, isn't it? Is it wetsuits?
Well, that looks like some sort of laminate or something like that.
It does, but look, do you recognise it? It's that sort of stretchy stuff in your wetsuit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I've just got a bit of a sample there. Okay.
Wait, what's this doing here?
Well, these are interesting. These sort of new glues, impact glue, I wouldn't be surprised if it's polymer based. I haven't got a clue which polymer, but you can almost tell because it's full of chemicals and there's a lot of toxic smells that come from this. Not good for the environment. Shouldn't really be using this rubbish, really. And this one here, this is oh yes, look, it's polyurethane varnish. Now the fact it says poly in it suggests in some way it is a actual liquid plastic. There you go. And I know you talked about that when you were talking about your silicone.
Yes.
Your silicone lubricant here. Yeah, it's called makes parts shine and suspension slippery smooth. Basically, this is a liquid form of this material. This material here, elastomer. A liquid elastomer. Okay, well I hope guys that's been really informative and I hope you've learnt something from it. So there we go. That's our little clip on plastics. Oh, there's one bit about the glasses. You can ask me a question, weren't you?
Yeah, aren't the glasses made out of glass for like the lens and then this part made out of plastic?
Yeah, they are. Often now the lenses are a type of polymer, not glass as they used to be many years ago. Very, very clever how they grind them to shape and make that into a lens. Very clever technology. Good old technology can be used very cleverly or very negatively, can't it? There's a code 7, insulating. Bit of aluminium mixed there with plastic. Jake's trying to make me move on now. I hope I haven't bored you too much, Shed Hackers. Bye! Hi, Shed Hackers. So, in summary, plastics are made from polymers. Polymers can come from chips. No, is that right, Jake?
Well, they can also come from potatoes and flour.
I'm confused. Flour, starch can make polymers. Okay, so they must be the biodegradable type.
Yes.
Oh, I'm getting there now. And then you get other plastics that come from oils. and often most oils come from underneath the ground, which we really shouldn't be digging up anymore, or drilling. That's the word, isn't it? Drilling up. And they are thermosetting plastics and thermoplastics. And they all make up polymers. And you want to talk to me a little bit about that shoe, didn't you?
Yes. Well, this shoe, it has different types of plastics. Like this rubber here is quite soft, but also hard wearing. But then the actual shoe part is soft, and if we use that at the bottom of our shoe, it would wear away quite quickly.
So it could be a neoprene or low density polyethylene. I bet it is. I still want those chips. Anyway, going back, let's move on to this. You wanted to briefly mention those codes.
Yes, so these are SBI codes, and they're recycling codes all the way from 1 to 7. And it's just to show what kind of recyclable plastic it is.
Oh, right. Brilliant stuff. Well, I hope everyone's found that really quite useful. The research has been very informative for me, and I've learnt lots of things about plastics and therefore the old polymers. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to enjoy our chips now, guys. Bye. Jake, where have you gone?
I'm right there.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah.